The night was silent. The small town was asleep. Only one man was walking alone on the empty road. His name was Daniel. He was tired, sad, and full of loneliness. His life had no family, no children, no one waiting for him at home. He often walked at night to forget his pain. But this night was different. Daniel looked up and saw something strange in the sky. A bright light moved quickly above the trees. It was not a plane. It was not a star. The light stopped in the air, glowing stronger and stronger until it landed in the dark field ahead of him. Daniel felt his heart beat fast. His feet wanted to run, but his eyes could not look away. He whispered to himself, "What is that? Who is there?" The light slowly faded, and a tall figure stood in the shadows. Daniel could not believe his eyes. It was not human. The shape was thin, the skin pale silver, and the eyes large and glowing like the moon. The figure stepped closer. Daniel froze. Fear and wonder mixed inside him. The figure spoke in a soft, broken voice. It was a woman's voice. "Human, please. Listen." Daniel's legs trembled. He wanted to escape, but the sadness in her voice stopped him. She did not sound dangerous. She sounded broken. The figure stepped into the moonlight. She was an alien woman. Her face carried deep sorrow. She looked tired, as if she had carried pain for many years. Slowly, she raised her hand and said, "I'm a widow. I have no mate. I have children, but no one to protect them. They are homeless. They are hungry. Adopt my children, human. End my loneliness. Save them." Daniel could not move. His mind was spinning. He thought, "Is this real? Am I dreaming? An alien widow, asking me to be father to her children." The woman's silver eyes filled with tears. "I have hidden them. Soldiers hunt us. My children are weak. If you do not help, they will die." Daniel felt his heart tighten. He had always lived alone, but now someone was begging him for love, for protection. He looked into her eyes and saw something he understood too well: loneliness. But before he could answer, the air around them changed. A sudden noise echoed in the distance. Crunching footsteps. Someone else was there. Daniel turned his head sharply. Shadows moved near the trees. He saw dark figures watching them from far away. The alien woman whispered, "They are here. They are watching." Daniel's heart raced. "Who?" he asked. She shook her head. "Hunters. They want us dead. They will not stop." The shadows grew larger. The sound of boots crushing dry leaves filled the night. Daniel's breath turned cold. He had to decide: quickly run away and save himself, or stay and face whatever danger was coming. The alien widow stepped closer to him. "Please, human. You are my only hope. If you walk away now, my children will not live to see another sunrise." Daniel swallowed hard. He had no family, no reason to live. But now, this strange widow and her children were pulling him into their world of danger and sorrow. The footsteps grew louder. The shadows broke apart. Daniel could almost see the hunters' faces. Whoever they were closing in. The alien woman's eyes glowed brighter, filled with desperation. She whispered again, her voice shaking, "Adopt my children. Save them." Daniel stood frozen under the moonlight. His life was about to change forever, but he had no choice. The night had brought him face to face with something impossible: an alien widow. Hunted and alone, begging him to be a father. And in the darkness behind them, danger was only one step away. The night grew colder. Daniel's chest was heavy with fear. The alien woman stood close to him, her silver eyes trembling with sorrow. Behind them, shadows still moved. Whoever was watching them had not gone away. But the widow's soft voice pulled Daniel's attention back to her. She whispered, you must know why I came to you." Daniel swallowed hard. Why me? Out of all the people in this world, why me? The alien widow lowered her head. Her long fingers curled tightly as if holding invisible pain. "Because I saw you. You walk alone at night, your heart full of silence. You are lonely, like me." Her words cut deep into Daniel's chest. Yes, he was lonely. Every day he lived with emptiness. No family, no laughter, no children's voices. He hid his sadness behind a tired smile at work, but when night came, the truth returned. The widow stepped closer. "My mate is gone. He died in the Great War among the stars. I buried him in the soil of a broken world. Since then, I have only my children, but they are hunted. Soldiers of men, soldiers of my kind, all want them gone. They call us unwanted." Daniel's eyes softened. He had never heard such pain in a voice before. She was not only an alien, she was a mother fighting for her children's survival. Her tears sparkled in the moonlight. "Every night I listen to their stomachs cry with hunger. Every day I see their small hands shake with fear. They ask me, 'Mother, when will we be safe? Mother, who will protect us?' And I have no answer." Daniel felt his throat tighten. He imagined little ones hiding in the shadows, waiting for food, waiting for safety. A mother with no one to help her. The picture was too real, too human. The widow raised her voice softly, like a broken song. "Human, I do not ask for gold, or power, or glory. I only ask for love. My children need a father, someone to hold them, to guide them. If you refuse, they will fade away, slowly, painfully." Oh, Daniel's mind screamed at him to say something, but his tongue refused to move. His heart was caught between fear and compassion. Suddenly, a snapping sound broke the moment. A twig cracked in the darkness. Daniel's head turned quickly. The shadows near the trees shifted. The watchers were still there. Closer now, the widow grabbed his arm with her thin hand. Her grip was strong, desperate. "Do not speak loud. They hunt us like wolves. If they see you with me, they will hunt you too." Daniel's skin went cold. He whispered, "Then why show yourself to me?" Her glowing eyes locked on his. "Because I cannot hide forever. My children are dying. If I wait longer, it will be too late." The forest behind them seemed to breathe with danger. The watchers whispered in low voices, moving through the grass. Daniel's pulse thundered in his ears. The widow leaned close. "Do you want to see them? Do you want to see my children?" Daniel's breath caught in his chest. Part of him wanted to run. Part of him wanted to know the truth. His lips trembled, but he forced the words out. "Yes, show me." Without another sound, she turned and walked toward the dark line of trees. Her steps were light, like a shadow moving across water. Daniel followed, his heart burning with both fear and curiosity. The forest swallowed them. The sound of hunters grew faint behind, but still close enough to remind them of danger. The widow guided him down a narrow path, through branches and thick leaves. Finally, she stopped in front of a hidden cave, half covered with roots and stones. She whispered inside. Daniel bent low and entered. His eyes needed time to adjust. The smell of damp earth filled his nose. Then he saw them. 3 small figures huddled together in the darkness. Their skin shimmered faintly, pale like their mothers. Their large eyes glowed softly, reflecting fear and hunger. They looked fragile, thinner than children should be. One of them clutched a small stone as if it was a toy. Another coughed weakly, pressing against the wall for support. Daniel's breath shook. They were not monsters. They were only children. The, the smallest one whispered, "Mother, is it safe?" The widow knelt beside them and stroked their heads gently. "Yes, little stars. This is the human I told you about." The children stared at Daniel with wide, curious eyes. Their faces carried both hope and fear. Daniel stood frozen. His chest ached. He remembered his own empty home, the silence, the loneliness. These children were strangers, yet their eyes asked him for something he had lost long ago: family. But before he could speak, the sound of footsteps returned outside the cave. Heavy boots, sharp voices. The hunters had followed. The widow's eyes flashed with fear. She whispered, "They are here. We cannot stay." Daniel's heart pounded. He had only just met these fragile beings, yet already he felt the weight of their survival pressing onto his shoulders. He knew one thing, for sure his life would never be the same again. The cave was silent except for the soft breathing of the children. Daniel stood at the entrance, his back pressed against the cold stone wall. Outside, the sound of footsteps moved closer. The hunters were searching, their voices low, their lights flashing between the trees. The widow placed a finger over her lips. "Quiet," she whispered. Her eyes glowed faintly in the dark, reflecting both fear and strength. Daniel nodded, his heart hammering like a drum. He had never felt danger so close. His lonely walks had always been safe, empty. But now his life was standing on the edge of something he could not escape. Inside the cave, the three alien children stared at him. Their eyes were wide, glowing softly, like small moons. They looked frightened, yet curious about the strange human their mother had brought. The smallest one, a child with trembling hands, whispered, "Mother, is he the one?" The widow touched the child's head gently. "Yes, little star. This is the human who may save us." Daniel's throat tightened. Save them? How could he? He was just an ordinary man, with no power, no weapon, no family. What could he do against hunters who moved like shadows in the night? Still, he stepped closer. To the children, his voice was soft, almost breaking. "Don't be afraid. I won't hurt you." The children didn't answer. They only stared, as if searching inside his soul for the truth of his words. Suddenly, a beam of light swept across the cave's entrance. Daniel's body froze. A hunter's voice echoed, sharp and cold. "Tracks end here. Search inside." The widow's eyes flashed with alarm. She whispered quickly, "They will find us. We must move." Daniel whispered back, "Move." "Where?" "They're right outside." The widow pointed to the back of the cave. "There is another path. A tunnel. It is narrow, but it leads into the forest." The hunter's boots scraped against the rocks outside. A hand touched the wall near. The entrance? They were seconds away from coming in. Daniel felt panic rise inside him. He turned to the children. "Come, quickly." The widow gathered her children, guiding them toward the narrow tunnel hidden behind thick roots and stone. Daniel pushed branches aside with shaking hands, his breath fast. But then one of the children coughed loudly. A weak, sharp sound that broke the silence like glass. The hunters heard it. There. Inside, a voice shouted. Light burst into the cave, blinding Daniel's eyes. He grabbed the smallest child and pushed him into the tunnel. The widow pulled. The others behind her, shadows rushed in. The hunters entered, their flashlights cutting through the darkness, their faces hidden behind black masks. "Run!" the widow cried. Daniel didn't think. He crawled into the tunnel after the children. The space was tight, damp, and filled with the smell of soil. His shoulders scraped against stone as he pulled himself forward. Behind him, the hunters shouted, their boots pounding closer. The tunnel twisted like a snake. The children moved quickly. their glowing eyes leading the way through the dark. Daniel crawled as fast as he could, his heart slamming against his chest. Then suddenly the tunnel opened into a small clearing in the forest. The night air rushed over them, cool and sharp. Daniel gasped for breath, pulling himself out onto the ground. The widow emerged behind him, holding her children close. But the danger was not gone. The hunters' lights flickered behind them in the tunnel. Voices barked orders, "Block the exit. Don't let them escape." The widow lifted her head, her silver eyes fierce. "They will not stop. They will chase us until we are caught." Daniel clenched his fists. "Then where can we go?" She looked at him, her face hard with sorrow. "There is only one place left, a place deep in the forest where even the hunters fear to go." The children pressed against her, shaking with fear. Daniel stared at them. Their faces were thin, their small hands gripping each other tightly. They were not soldiers, not monsters. They were only little ones who wanted safety. For the first time in many years, Daniel felt something powerful inside him, the need to protect. His loneliness, his empty home, his silent nights all seemed meaningless compared to this moment. He spoke firmly, though his voice shook. "Then take me there. If they're coming, we run now." The widow nodded. She pulled her children close and began moving through the trees. Daniel followed, every sound of the night sharpening his fear. The hunters were behind them, their lights flashing, their voices angry. The chase had begun as they ran. Daniel heard the widow whisper softly to her children, "Stay strong, my little stars. Stay strong." Her words cut through the night like a fragile prayer. Daniel wondered if he could really protect them, or if he was walking into a danger far greater than he could imagine. But one thing was certain: the hidden children were no longer hidden. And now their survival rested in his hands. The forest was alive with danger. Every branch seemed to whisper. Every shadow seemed to move. Daniel ran with the alien widow and her children, his breath sharp and heavy. Behind them, the hunters were still chasing. Their lights flashed between the trees, their voices echoing like thunder in the night. Daniel had never run for his life before. He had never carried the weight of someone else's survival on his shoulders. But now, with the smallest child holding tightly to his hand, he felt the truth: his life was no longer his own. The widow slowed her steps, pulling her children close. "We cannot keep running," she whispered. "They are stronger. They have weapons. We have only the forest." Daniel turned, his chest burning. "Then what do we do? If we stop, they'll catch us. If we keep running, your children will collapse." Her silver eyes searched his face. "That is why I came to you. You must decide. Will you stay with us, or will you leave?" Daniel's heart jumped. The question struck deep, sharper than any knife. Stay or leave? He could save himself now, slip into the trees and disappear. No one would blame him. These children were not his. This widow was not his family. He could go back to his small house, his empty life, his safe loneliness. But as he looked at the children, small, weak, their eyes filled with both fear and hope, he felt something pull inside him. Their thin hands clung to their mother too, him as if they were drowning in a storm. The smallest child coughed again, his voice fragile. "Mother, I'm tired." Daniel's throat tightened. He could not walk away. Still, fear screamed in his mind. "What can I do against armed hunters? I am only one man. If I fight, I will die. If I stay, I may doom them all." The widow placed a hand on his shoulder. Her touch was light but firm. "You know loneliness, Daniel. You know emptiness. You have lived it. Do not let my children live the same." Daniel closed his eyes for a moment. Memories rushed back, silent dinners, nights with no laughter, mornings where no one said goodbye. He had lived in darkness, and now these strangers were asking him to step into theirs. When he opened his eyes, he spoke with a voice he didn't recognize. "I will stay. I will not leave you." The widow's lips trembled, almost a smile, but filled with sorrow. "Then we are one family now." The sound of snapping branches cut the moment short. Hunters were near. Their voices were louder, their boots crushing the ground. Daniel felt panic rise, but he pushed it down. He had made his choice. The widow guided them to a fallen tree. "We hide here, only for a moment. Then we move again." Daniel crouched beside the children, pulling branches over them. His hands shook, but he forced himself to stay calm. The children huddled close, their glowing eyes watching him with silent trust. The hunters passed by, their flashlights cutting across the forest floor. One beam nearly touched Daniel's face, but he stayed still, his breath trapped in his chest. Tracks led this way. One hunter muttered, "They can't be far." The group moved deeper into the forest, their lights fading for now. The widow exhaled softly. "We are safe, for the moment." Daniel leaned against the tree, sweat dripping down his face. His body ached, his legs heavy. But it was not only exhaustion, it was the weight of choice. He had chosen to stay, to protect. There was no turning back now. One of the children, the oldest, leaned toward him. Her small voice trembled. "Will you really be our father?" Daniel looked at her glowing eyes. The question shook him more than the hunters. He wanted to answer quickly, but the words caught in his throat. Finally, he whispered, "I will try. I don't know how, but I will try." The child smiled faintly, the first sign of hope he had seen. The widow touched his arm again. "Is enough. Trying is enough." The forest was quiet again, but Daniel knew it wouldn't last. The hunters would return. The danger would follow them, always. But something inside him had changed. For the first time, he felt like his life had meaning, yet, as he looked into the shadows of the trees, he wondered how long he could protect them. The hunters were many. He was one. And deep inside, another fear grew. What if these children, so fragile and strange, were not only victims? What if there was something hidden in them, something even the widow had not told him? The night pressed, close around him, heavy with secrets. Daniel held the smallest child tighter, his jaw set. Whatever the truth was, whatever the danger ahead, he had made his choice. He would not walk away. But choices had consequences. And soon, the forest would demand payment. The forest seemed endless. Every tree looked the same. Every shadow stretched long and dark. Daniel ran with the widow and her children, his lungs burning, his heart pounding like a drum of war. Behind them, the hunters were not slowing. There. Voices cut through the night, sharp, cruel, hungry. The widow carried her weakest child in her arms, while the other two held on to Daniel. Their small, glowing eyes showed fear, but also trust. They believed he could protect them. That belief was heavier than any chain. The night air filled with the sound of engines. Daniel's head snapped up. Between the trees, he saw strange machines flying low, hunter drones. Their red lights blinked like angry eyes, sweeping the ground for movement. The widow whispered in panic, "They are closing in. If they see us, it will be the end." Daniel clenched his teeth. He had never been chased before, never hunted like prey. His life of loneliness had been quiet, safe. Now every step felt like a choice between life and death. Suddenly, one of the children stumbled. The oldest girl cried out, her small legs giving way. Daniel caught her before she fell, but her face was pale, her breathing sharp. "She cannot." "Run more," the widow said, her voice breaking. "They are too weak." Daniel looked around, desperate. The forest was thick, but the hunters were faster, stronger, armed. He was only one man, with nothing but his will. Then he saw it a broken path leading down toward a river. The sound of rushing water filled his ears. Maybe the water could hide their trail. Maybe it could save them. "Come," Daniel shouted. "This way." They stumbled through branches, the widow clutching her children, Daniel guiding them with trembling hands. The river appeared before them, wide and wild, the moon shining silver on its surface. The widow's eyes widened. "The current is strong. My children cannot swim." Daniel's mind raced. Behind them, the hunters' lights grew brighter. Voices shouted orders. Drones buzzed, closing in. He turned to the widow, his face hard. "If we stay, we die. If we go, we have a chance." For a moment, silence. Only the roar of the water filled their ears. Then the widow nodded, her tears shining. "We trust you." Daniel grabbed a fallen branch, long and sturdy. He waded into the freezing river, the current almost knocking him off his feet. His muscles screamed, but he planted himself firmly. "Give me the children, one at a time." The widow handed him the smallest child first. Daniel held him tight against his chest and pushed forward into the rushing water. The river pulled at him, cold and merciless, but he fought with every breath. Behind him, hunters reached the riverbank. "There they are. Don't let them cross." Gunfire cracked through the night. Bullets splashed into the water, missing by inches. Daniel bent low, shielding the child with his body. His arms burned, his legs shook, but he pushed harder, step by step, until he reached the other side. He placed the child safely on the shore, gasping for air, then turned back into the river. Again and again he crossed, carrying each child, his body bruised and shaking. The widow came last, holding his hand as they fought the current together. When they finally stood on the far bank, dripping and breathless, Daniel collapsed to his knees. His body wanted to give up, but the widow's hand touched his shoulder, steadying him. "You saved them," she whispered. Her eyes glowed softly, filled with gratitude. But their escape was not complete. Across the river, the hunters shouted in rage. Drones flew over the water, their lights scanning. Daniel pulled the children close, his voice firm. "We can't stop here. We keep moving. Deeper into the forest. They will not give up." The widow nodded, gathering her children. "There is a place ahead. An old ruin, hidden under the earth. If we reach it, they cannot find us." Daniel rose, his legs heavy but determined. The children clung to him, their eyes shining with fragile hope. As they disappeared into the forest once more, Daniel's thoughts burned. He had faced bullets, drones, and a raging river. He had risked everything for children who were not his own. But deep inside, he knew the truth. He could no longer see them as strangers. They were his now, his family, yet the night whispered a darker truth. The hunters would not stop. And somewhere, deep in the forest, greater dangers waited. The great escape was only the beginning. The forest was silent again, but not peaceful. Daniel could hear the children's weak breaths, the smallest cough shaking the night air. His heart grew heavy. The escape through the river had saved them for now. But it had also taken their strength. The widow touched her youngest child's forehead. Her silver eyes dimmed with fear. "He is burning," she whispered. "The water has made him weaker. His body is too fragile. Without help, he will not last." Daniel knelt beside the child. The boy's glowing eyes were half closed, his skin pale. Daniel's chest tightened. In that moment, he did not see an alien. He saw a child, helpless, innocent, slipping away. "What does he need?" Daniel asked quickly. The widow's face was pale with sorrow. Medicine, food, warmth. But none of these are here. Only one place has what can save him. The human's lab beyond the valley. Daniel's blood ran cold. He had heard rumors of that place called Walls of Steel, guarded by men who carried guns. It was where hunters took everything strange, everything alien. If he went there, he might never come back. He looked at the boy again, trembling in his mother's arms. His throat tightened. If I do nothing, he dies. If I try, I may die. But at least he has a chance. Daniel stood, his fists shaking. Then I'll go. The widow's eyes widened. No human. It is too dangerous. You will be killed. Daniel met her gaze. I lived my whole life with nothing. No family, no children, no one waiting for me. But now I have something worth fighting for. I can't stand by and watch him fade. Her lips trembled. Why? Why would you risk your life for children not your own? Daniel's voice was steady though. His chest shook. Because you asked me to be their father. And a father does not run away. For the first time, the widow's tears fell freely. She bowed her head, her voice breaking. Then go, Daniel. But promise me one thing. What? She looked into his eyes, her silver gaze glowing like stars. Promise me you will return. Promise me you will not leave them alone again. Daniel placed his hand over his heart. I promise, no matter what happens, I will come back. The children looked at him, their eyes wide with hope. The oldest girl whispered softly, Don't leave us, Father. Daniel bent down and touched her small hand. I will come back. I swear it. With that, he turned toward the valley. The forest grew darker as he walked away. Every step felt heavier, but his heart carried only one thought. Save the child. Keep the promise. The valley stretched wide, covered in mist. In the center stood the lab, cold, metallic, glowing with white lights. Fences surrounded it, tall and sharp. Shadows of guards moved along the walls. Drones buzzed above like silent birds of prey. Daniel crouched low in the grass, his breath slow. His mind screamed at him to turn back, but his promise burned louder. He studied the guards' movements, the opening in the fence, the dark corners where shadows hid. I have nothing but courage, he thought. But sometimes courage is enough. He moved like a ghost, crawling through tall grass, sliding between shadows. His hands scraped against the dirt, his clothes heavy with water, but he pressed forward. Each guard's step sounded like thunder in his ears. At last, he reached the fence. The wires hummed faintly with power. He swallowed hard, then slipped through a broken gap at the edge. His shirt tore against the metal, but he didn't stop. Inside the lab's grounds, the air was colder. White lights cut across the walls. Daniel crept closer, his heart pounding. Through a window, he saw shelves lined with medicine, glowing screens, strange devices humming quietly. He clenched his jaw. That medicine. It's the only hope. But then, a sharp sound. A voice. A flashlight beam. Who's there? Daniel froze. A guard was near. His body shook, but he pressed against the wall, hidden in shadow. The beam of light passed inches from his face. His breath felt like fire in his throat. The guard moved on, muttering, his boots fading into the distance. Daniel exhaled slowly. He looked up at the window again, his hands curled into fists. I will not fail them. Not tonight. He rose from the shadows, eyes fixed on the door. Every part of his body ached, but his heart was stronger than ever. For the first time in his life, Daniel was not living for himself. He was living for them, and nothing would stop him. The cold steel door of the lab creaked open. Daniel slipped inside, his breath shallow. The air smelled of chemicals and metal. Bright white lights hummed above, making his eyes ache. He kept low, his hands trembling as he searched the rows of shelves. His heart beat louder with every step. Medicine. I need medicine. Then he saw glass bottles filled with glowing liquid, marked with strange symbols. He didn't understand the language, but instinct told him this was what the widow had spoken of. Carefully, he gathered them into a small pack. But a sound froze him. Stop. Hands up. A guard stood at the far end of the room, his weapon raised. Daniel's chest locked with fear. He had no weapon, no shield, nothing but the promise burning in his heart. The guard stepped closer. You don't belong here. Who are you working for? Daniel swallowed hard. His voice shook, but his eyes stayed firm. I'm not working for anyone. I came for a child. A child who will die without this. The guard laughed bitterly. An alien child? You risk your life for them? They are not your kind. They don't belong here. Daniel's fists clenched. His voice grew strong. Maybe not, but they are mine now, my children, and I won't let them die. The guard's finger twitched on the trigger. But before he could fire, the lights flickered. A piercing alarm screamed through the building. Red lights flashed. Other guards shouted in confusion. Daniel seized the moment. He swung a metal tray from the table, striking the guard's weapon aside. The man stumbled. Daniel ran, clutching the pack of medicine against his chest. Boots thundered behind him. Voices yelled orders, but Daniel pushed forward, his legs fueled by something greater than fear. He burst through the back door into the cold night air and sprinted across the grass. Bullets cracked behind him. One tore past his shoulder, hot and sharp. But he didn't stop. He reached the forest, vanishing into its shadows. His lungs burned, his body screamed, but he kept running. I promised. I must return. Hours later, the widow waited in the ruins with her children. The smallest boy lay weak. In her arms, his breathing shallow. The oldest girl stroked his hair, whispering comfort, though her own eyes filled with tears. The widow's heart was breaking. She looked into the darkness of the forest, praying, "Come back, Daniel, please. Come back." Then a figure appeared between the trees, stumbling, bleeding, but alive. Daniel, mother. The children cried softly. The widow rose, tears flooding her silver eyes. Daniel fell to his knees before them, holding out the pack. Medicine. I got it. His hands shook as he opened the bottles. The widow carefully gave the glowing liquid to her weakest child. For a moment, silence. Then the boy coughed and breathed deeper, his pale face slowly filling with light. The widow gasped. He is healing. The children hugged each other, their glowing eyes brighter than before. Daniel leaned against the wall, exhausted but smiling. For the first time in years, he felt something he thought he would never feel again: belonging. The widow knelt beside him. Her hand touched his cheek, gentle as starlight. You kept your promise. You are truly their father now. Daniel's eyes burned with tears. I don't know if I can protect you forever. The hunters, they won't stop. The widow nodded. Slowly, perhaps not, but family is not about forever. It is about standing together while we can. And tonight, you gave us hope. The children gathered around him, their small hands touching his arms, his shoulders. Their glowing eyes looked up at him with trust. The oldest girl whispered, "We are not alone anymore." Daniel pulled them close, his heart full. For years, he had walked through silence, through loneliness. But now he had voices around him, little hands clinging to him. A mother who believed in him. A family. He looked at the widow, his voice steady. They are mine now. No matter what comes, I will never leave them. Her tears fell like stars, and we will never leave you." Outside, the forest stirred with the sound of distant engines. The hunters were still searching. Danger was not gone. But in that ruined shelter, surrounded by fragile yet glowing eyes, Daniel felt stronger than he had ever been. The world might still come for them, but together they were no longer broken, no longer alone. They were a family, and no force on earth beyond could take that away.